Yes, welcome to the Senbian tier list of all of the Clocktower characters. I've played the game for like several months, 7, 8, 9. So not as much as most people, but I have story told a good half of those games, like several hundred. And I've got a pretty firm opinion on most characters, I feel, give or take. I see some potential in some. I dislike others. It's sort of give and take. But we'll see. And if you have opinions, I don't know, you can say them, I guess. I don't care. It's an open forum. Will I listen? Maybe. Could do that. But for now, let's start at the top. Okay, so starting at the top, we have Acrobat. Acrobat, let's choose to the player. If they're drunk or poisoned, they die. Acrobat is good. You can kind of see the sort of definitions here of what each of these the categories mean outside of just general vibes, you know, things that are like really good, really strong, or just fun, which means it might be weak, but if it's really fun. So it's a combination of mechanical strength plus how I feel about said mechanical strength. The opinion list is opinionated, so keep that in mind. This is hardly an official, thing at all. This is just how I feel. That being said, Acrobat, I like Acrobat. It's good at hunting down drunks. It's the counter to the Leech. Now, it's sort of limited in its countering ability because in worlds where there aren't, any drunk or poisoning, it's not really useful. But in that case, you wouldn't put it in the bag. So that's less the roll's fault. I'd say Acrobat is... I'm gonna place it in good, usable, pleasantly mediocre. I don't have strong opinions about it, but it is fine. It does a good job at what it wants to do. I might move it up to A. I'm sort of in between those two. But Acrobat, B. Alchemist is easy A, maybe S. I'll need to see what else goes up there. But Alchemist gains minion abilities, and that's just really fun. But it does run into a lot of issues with the jinxes, because there are a lot of minions that are just ridiculous. And so the Alchemist does suffer from that, because there's a lot of minion abilities that it gains that it doesn't actually gain. Like, it doesn't gain the Spy, it doesn't gain the Scarlet Woman, it doesn't gain... what is it? Vizier. There's a lot of things it doesn't gain. And it makes sense why it doesn't gain those. If a townsfolk can see the grimoire, that's kind of broken. But it does sort of bring down its potential a little bit. But Alchemist Psychopath is very funny. I always love Alchemist Wizard. That's... When I have an Alchemist in the game, I'm usually putting a Wizard, or I'm giving it the Wizard ability. Because that's just great. I like that. Up next, Alsahir. Alsahir is a mechanically strong role, as it has a... It's got one of those game-ending abilities. If you guess the minion and the demon, like which players are the minion and demon, not specifically what kind of minion and demon they are, you win the game, which is really powerful. So it does require a bit of a hunt. It does require you to sort of seek them out. Or just be really lucky with the guess. It's mechanically speaking, it is an S. Yeah, I'll put it in S. Amnesiac, S. Amnesiac, I want to save S. S is a special tier. More so, maybe. I'll change things as we go. Amnesiac is just so much fun because you just give them whatever ability you want. So it has a lot of flexibility. That being said, it does require that the storyteller is adept with that kind of thing. And if you're not, well, then that's not great. Then I could see it being lower down for that reason. For me personally, I quite like it. Even though I'm now it's not really on a lot of the scripts that I run. I just don't, because I make a lot of my own scripts, and I'm not usually putting Amnesiac on there because they're usually like focused around a specific idea that Amni just doesn't fit. But thematically, S tier. Absolute S tier. Okay, moving on. Artist is really fucking powerful. Mechanically speaking, S. It is one of the strongest roles in the game because asking a question and getting a yes or no answer gives you a lot to work with. A most devastating role that's also kind of, you know, it's fun. Atheist. Atheist. I don't know how to rank Atheist. I don't know how to rank Atheist. There is no evil team, and the storyteller makes it all up. It's fine for a one-off. It's cute every so often. But having it too often is excessive. Because it's not pleasantly mediocre. It's not... It is quirky, and it is... Okay, based off of what I say, I would probably have to put Atheist in A. But my personal feelings toward it are a little bit more negative. Because I hate playing in Atheist games. They're stressful as shit for no reason. My god. Yeah, I'm putting him in B. My heart says B, damn it. That's what my heart says. Up next, Balloonist is an interesting one. Balloonist, I think the most impactful thing about the Balloonist is that it adds an outsider. Because it sees a different, you know, character type. And it's decent information, but it is a slow burn of information. It can help a lot with the game. However, I would mostly just put it in B for Balloonist. Banshee is really funny. A tier. It's like the Ravenkeeper. It's a demon trap. It's the kind of role that wants to get killed by the demon. And it's the funniest kind of one where it immediately gets announced that there's a Banshee. The Banshee gets to nominate while dead and has 2 votes, and it gets to nominate twice. So it is really good. That being said, I don't see it in a lot of scripts. I myself don't put it in like a crazy amount of scripts. But in terms of like, it's one of those roles that's sort of fallen by the wayside for me. But like conceptually, and when I'm looking at that, I'm like, that's funny. I like that. And I'm, generally speaking, a big fan of demon trap roles. Because I have a very chaotic play style. But whenever I am a role that is seemingly useless, or like wants to be attacked, I will go all in on that shit. I love it. Bounty Hunter. Ooh, Bounty Hunter is good and it's usable. The issue with Bounty Hunter is that it's both really strong and then also really detrimental because it turns a townsfolk evil. And if you get drunk, the information you get is devastating, but the information you have is really good because you learn an evil player. In terms of mechanical strength, it's definitely up there, but in terms of like how I feel about it, it's sort of in the middle. I don't care for it as much, just cause that it adds an evil townsfolk. And unlike some other really strong information roles, the bounty hunter, it's sort of all or nothing in that regard. Kind of like a choir boy that gets drunk, which did happen recently in one of my games, which was very funny. But I don't know, bounty hunter, I look at that and I'm like, it's fine. Cannibal. Cannibal's quite good. Cannibal's not peak, but Cannibal gains the ability of anyone executed, which is a good fallback option, a good proving option, and like sort of like it fills a similar niche to the Undertaker, but the Undertaker just learns roles, whereas the Cannibal gains that ability, which can be really good. I quite like it. Chambermaid, I also quite like. You check 2 players, and you see if one of, however many of them woke up, which can be really devastating for the evil team. Also, there is absolutely going to be a bias here. A lot of the sex and violence roles are probably going to be a lot higher up. Because I just like them. I like them. The chambermaid I quite like. Chef is fine. It can be really good. I'm partially putting it here. I think probably I'd put it in B, but I'm putting it here because currently there's nothing there, and this might be a very lopsided tier list. There's not a lot of bad roles in the game. To be like, they have done a fantastic job with designing these things to be good and fun. Chef is fine. It can be incredibly devastating. And in that case, I might move Atheist down here as well. Just because, fuck the Atheist. It's not unfun, I just have mixed opinions about it. Choir Boy. I'm going to put in... Choir Boy is that if the king is killed by the demon, the Choir Boy learns who the demon is. And the Choir Boy is an interesting kind of demon trap where it sort of does what the Vortox does, where it's not it itself that's necessarily, well, it is strong, but it's the threat of a Choir Boy that's strong. It's the threat of a Vortox that's devastating, as opposed to the actual thing itself, although the Choir Boy is a lot more devastating than the Vortox. That being said, Choir Boy, I don't really jump to use a lot of the time. I don't use King either. In that regard, I'm putting King right there. Actually, I might even put King at D, because... not because I think it's bad, but I think the King Choir Boy mechanic is one of the most underused in a lot of the scripts I have, but when I do use it, it's like, fine. I don't care at all for it. I look at it, and I'm like, eh. But the Choir Boy as the demon trap is actually pretty good. It's just unfortunate that it's tied to the king, a role I don't care about at all. Clockmaker. It's really good information. I mean, okay, so technically it's about... I like sex and violence a lot, and the roles that come with sex and violence are some of my favorites. So I'm biased, and I'm putting Clockmaker in A. Because the starting information roles can be deviously powerful. And when I get starting information roles like the Clockmaker or the Chef or some of the other ones, I love to bluff as a really powerful constant information role, because the goal with the starting information role is that you have your information, but also you can act as a deterrent slash a bait for the demon and the evil team, so that they focus on you instead of focusing on people with good roles that you don't want them to affect. So if you become a honey trap for them, that helps your team out so much. And the Clockmaker is one of those. Which also, devastatingly game-solving information sometimes when paired up with, like, one other role. Like, Clockmaker is so good if, like, you can get confirmation for a couple of rolls, and then it's like, okay, so then you bounce however many seats away, and it's like, okay, so it can't be them, can't be them, can't be these guys. Interesting. And who could it be? Ayo, Lifoon. Appreciate the subscription. You got Kirby dancing down there, as he should. Appreciate it. Courtier. Pick a role. That character is drunk for 3 days and 3 nights. Courtier is a weird one. As a storyteller, I'm adverse to putting it in, just because, well, it can't work in solo demon scripts, because then the demon just gets drunk for 3 days. Unless the demon is the Legion, but a solo Legion script is stupid. The Courtier is really strong, but, like, I just don't feel anything looking at the Courtier. It is mechanically really strong, but maybe it's just because I haven't... It's also one of those roles that doesn't crop up nearly as much as others. So maybe I'm... Oh, God. Biased? Am I biased? Yes. Everybody is. That's how opinions work. Mechanically, it's definitely up here. Personally, I probably put it in C for fine. Forgettable. Cult leader. Okay, so the cult leader is a meme. That's it. It's not a particularly interesting role. It's a meme. I don't look at this and I'm like, yeah, this is a good role that makes the game fun. This is... River is going to hate this. I understand. But I don't like the cult leader that much. It's funny, and if it works... And the cult leader can learn if one of their neighbors is evil because they themselves turn evil. But in the grand scheme of, like, the game, the way I like to play the game, the way I like to storytell the game, the cult leader is just a meme. It's a funny win condition, and it is entertaining, that's for sure. But it's not my kind of entertaining, so I'm putting it lower down. Dreamer. Dreamer. Oh, thank you, Lifoon. I appreciate that. Excellent choice on the like 4-bit DDD the super low poly, low fidelity DDD sprite. It's a good one. It's a good one. Dreamer. Dreamer is objectively a very good role. It is my least favorite of the really good roles. I think partially because it has the highest potential of shattering the evil team if the bluffs aren't established with the storyteller. The easiest way to solve that is just to ask your evil team what they're bluffing if there's a potential for a dreamer on script, so that you can give the dreamer what, you know, they're looking for. But the dreamer's just too... I have a slight bias to the evil team. For the longest time, I had like a 55% win rate for evil. And Dreamer is a really good role, so I'm putting it in B. But it's almost too good sometimes. And I've seen it single-handedly win games just because the bluffs weren't established. And... like, if they pick the minion first night, the minion's dead. If they pick demon first night and then the demon changes their bluff or gets called out in a lie, it's over. It's over. And as good as it is, I do think that does bring it down a little bit, just because it can make the game a little unfortunate. Like, if Evil Team get caught between like two good players who like work in tandem to solve the game, that's fine. Clockmaker is a perfect example of that, where if the Clockmaker works together with at least one other good player that has useful information, then, like, huge, massive, amazing. That's what the game is made for. Roles that can solve the game by themselves, not as fun. The game is a collaborative game, so being able to work with people is a part of the fun and part of the strategy. The Dreamer absolutely can do that, but I've seen it sort of solo games to the point where it's like, okay, as a storyteller, I'm less inclined to put it in. Empath. S tier. I love that shit. Checking if how many of your neighbors are good or evil. Like, Empath is the most, like, straightforward, one of the most straightforward, like, information gatherers, but it's, like, it's such a fun mechanic because it moves. When a neighbor dies, it moves to the next alive neighbor. And as something of an empath myself, I really feel for that. And that's just fun. It's an iconic role in Trouble Brewing that works really well for a very good reason. So S tier, easy S tier. Engineer. D tier. I never see it, but when I do see it, it feels... Well, okay, so the engineer can pick either which demon or which minion is in play, which, depending on the script, can be good if you're trying to, like, if you want to make sure it's not a Vortox world or a Legion world, which... An engineer in a Legion game is just probably a bad idea. But they could turn a normal demon into a Legion, which would be really funny and absolutely... The engineer is interesting. It has the potential, but it kind of just isn't that interesting. You know? Yeah. Yeah. Exorcist. I quite like Exorcist. Then I'd put that in A. I think Exorcist is a role that I wasn't super keen on at first, but I've sort of grown into liking it. It's a very situational... It's not a very situational. It's a good, it's sort of like the counter, it's like the twin of the monk, where the monk protects other people from the demon. The exorcist goes straight to the source and stops the demon, which the demon will know if they've been exorcised, but it doesn't stop them entirely. And I really quite like that. Farmer, A tier. S tier? A tier. It's a demon trap. I love my demon traps. I don't actually know if a demon trap is worth putting an S. They're good, but they're not that good. I love them, but they're not necessarily S tier material. The farmer, so funny though, and good confirmation. When you die, another player turns into a farmer. That's just good. Fisherman goes in B tier exclusively because as a storyteller, I never know what to give. I don't use Fisherman a lot, but when I do, I accidentally give incredibly game-solving information more than on accident. Like, I give them what I think is like, okay, this is kind of a little cryptic, but it pushes them in the right direction. Half the time, I end up giving them a push that they misinterpret, but then solve the game with that misinterpretation, which is fucking insane. So maybe I've just been, I think I've just been personally burned by the Fisherman enough. Flower Girl is fine. It's not a role that really also doesn't really crop up super often, but it is good at what it's trying to do. It is good at, you know, finding where the demon is. But compared to Town Crier, I think Flower Girl is a lot more admin because you have to figure out who's voting and keep track of all that, and that's just a lot of work. Fool is fine. You just don't die once. It's good for covers and bluffs and a protection of sorts, but it's not like that interesting, you know? Like, I look at that and it's like, it's fine. I'm not the most interested in the Fool, but it has its place. Fortune Teller, A tier. Really good information gatherer, finding the demon, red herring. It's a great little piece. Gambler, really funny. Picking players for finding out their role and dying if they're wrong. That's a really fun version. It's a slightly better version of the Acrobat, in my opinion. Although the Acrobat has its niche, I do prefer how the Gambler works because it is a gamble. But if you take that gamble, it's good. General is fine. Learning who's winning. It is good. You gain a lot of good information, but it's not like, it's not that necessary. You know? Gossip is good, usable. It has, I like what it can bring. Extra deaths, but vague extra deaths, where you're not super sure. However, it does really slow down daytime, and I had an incident, the pit hag incident. So I'll put that in B. Grandmother, I will also put in B. I like it. It gives it a little extra death potential, confirmation, but it's fine. You know, usually you just want to get yourself executed. It's fine. High Priestess, also fine. It's more interesting than some of the other experimental roles. And, you know, you'd be like, go talk to that person. Which can be surprisingly game solving, especially if you send them towards people who, like, have the right world. Which I guess for that reason mechanically should go higher. I'll probably just put it in C because I don't feel super strongly about it. Huntsman. D. I don't care for the Huntsman. It's okay, so it's fine. I think I'm more generous to it than others. But the damsel, excellent character. The Huntsman, it fills a similar purpose, but I usually don't find myself wanting to. I put a Huntsman in sometimes just to protect the damsel, but half the time I just put a damsel in just because I like the damsel. Innkeeper, good protection, gives a little bit of drunkenness. It's just solid. Investigator. Investigator is an S tier role. It's sort of like the Dreamer in that it's borderline too powerful in some instances, but not enough for me not to put it in S and not to love it. I am careful when putting it in my own games though, because I don't want to like shatter the evil team if there's only one minion. But sometimes I do. Especially if it's like, you know, minions that can do some good stuff. But like only at the beginning, like a Baron or something. Juggler is fine. It's fine. The daytime rolls are funny. But they make mornings take way too long. And Juggler it can be good information. I just don't feel as strongly about it as I do the Gossip or the Elsa here, you know? The Knight. Learn 2 players who aren't the demon. Half the time, one of them's a minion. It's a fine roll. Nothing super strong about it. Librarian. I'll put it in B. I think it does... It's quite a good roll, being able to figure out outsiders. Never forget, the Drunk Librarian is a very funny combo. They never see it coming. They never see it coming. They never see it coming. Lycanthrope, A tier. I love that shit. Good player, killing good players. The faux pas confused me for a bit. The wording did not lead me to... I ran a few games where I didn't have the faux pas triggers evil to everybody. It's on me. But I quite like it. It's a good roll. It's a good roll. Gives good cover to a lot of demons who don't kill, or summoners. Magician. I'm also going to put an A tier. I think the Magician has a very interesting play style compared to the Poppy Grower, which it sort of complements. Where the Poppy Grower wants to stay silent and hidden, while the Minion and Demon don't learn each other. The Magician needs to be real active about it. Needs to be in the field, trying to act a little evil to sort of suss out who the evil team is. And that's a fun dynamic. That's a good dynamic. I've heard some people mention how the Magician and the Poppy Grower are kind of the same thing, but they're not. They are not. Sort of like the Grandmother and the Pixie. It's about the kind of play style it wants you to have. And the Magician has a very active play style, kind of like the Pixie. The Pixie has a really active play style. The Grandmother has a very passive play style. The Magician, a very active play style. Poppy Grower, a very passive play style. I prefer the active play styles to the passive ones. They're both good in their own right, and they have serve their function. So I'm just putting Poppy Grower in B for that purpose. It is good, but it's stronger than the Magician, to be frank. But the Magician has the potential to, like, elicit the evil team if they play well. Mathematician. I'm putting in B. It confused me when I first started playing, because it kind of has... I understand it now, obviously. And it can be really game-solving. It's just not the most fun of roles. I think it falls into another dreamer trap of potentially being too good. To the point where it's like, oh, you gotta be careful. You gotta be real fucking careful. The Mayor. You know, I'm gonna put the Mayor in A. I really like the Mayor. The Mayor victory is not a common victory. Not a common victory at all, in fact. But that's fine, because it's just funny. It's just funny. If you can pull it off, it's great. It's a really good demon bluff. The protection is also good. The protection is probably what puts it in A tier for me, alongside its other effects. Like, the whole package is really nice. I like the Mayor a lot. Minstrel, B. If a minion gets executed, everyone's drunk. That is fun. That is fun. It does sort of push them to want to find minions and execute them. And then if nobody dies, there is a strong chance that, hey, maybe you got the minion. But there's still enough reasonable doubt otherwise. But, you know, it's fine. Monk, A tier. Protection from the demon, which also works with the Vortox, which is really funny. I really like that it gives whoever... that if it protects a player, they get true information if there's a Vortox in play because of how it's worded. And that is peak. Is it S tier worthy? It might be. It might be. I'll put it there for now. I'll put it there for now. The Monk, S tier. Protection from Vortox. Yeah, I like that. Night Watchman, B. You tell somebody you're the Night Watchman, or in a Vortox game, you tell them literally anything else. It's fine. The Noble. I quite like the Noble. Learn 3 players, one of whom is evil. Now this one is a very hints towards the correct, like, hints towards the evil team, where without just outrightly, like, telling them, you know. I really like it. Definitely one of my more favorite first night roles. But not enough for, you know, not enough for A tier. Come on, let's not be silly now. Oracle. I'm also gonna put an A. Learn how many evil players are dead. I quite like that one. It's just a good role. Really good on a Vigor script. Really good on a Fangu script. It's called Sex and Violets. It's just good. It's just good. Powerful role. Pacifist is fine. Executed good players might not die. I think it has its place and is a good role in its place. I just don't care for it. You know? Philosopher, A tier. You gain the ability of a different townsfolk role on the script. If there's one in play, they're drunk, which can be good for something like a damsel or a heretic. And it does provide some very fun maneuvers. So I might put it in S tier because it is really good. It is really good. Pixie, A tier. The Pixie is the more active version of the Grandmother, because the Pixie learns a role that's in play, but you have to pretend to be that role. So you have to commit, and you have to play the Madness game. And the Madness game, it provides a lot of active play style, and like, I think some people sort of misunderstand Madness, or like the purpose of Madness. And I was watching the TPI streams, and they're like, and they were talking about, you know, like, Madness. Here's what it is. Here's what the point is. And the point is, for one, to waste time. Madness sort of like throws up, it's sort of a counter to the social game, wherein a lot of roles get mechanical information. Madness doesn't fuck with things mechanically necessarily. It fucks with things socially. And that is really interesting. I really like that. And the Pixie is just really fun. Preacher. I don't care for the Preacher. Okay, it's probably not D tier worthy because it has a good ability, but compared to the Exorcist, just outright removing minion abilities doesn't seem as fun. And for minions that are outed, like the Vizier or the Psychopath, it's just over. It's over. Although there might be a jinx for that. I don't know. Princess. Execute. If you execute a roll, day 1, the demon can't kill tonight. It's fine. It's the newest role, I believe. That's like a proper role. So it's not on like a crazy amount of scripts. So, yeah, it's fine. Professor. I like Professor. I don't love Professor. I'll put it in B. It's fine. It's good. It has a really good role, but I look at it and I'm like, I'm just not particularly enthused. You know. Ravenkeeper, A tier, Demon Trap. The quintessential Demon Trap, technically. Sage, I am. Yeah, I'll also put an A. Both of these are your quintessential demon traps. You can learn a role or learn of 1 or 2 players as the demon. Both are really good roles. Both banging right there with Farmer. We love a demon trap. Sailor is fine. It's fine. The Sailor confuses me a little bit as to what the point is. Sometimes. It's good in Leech Worlds. and it technically provides drunkening, but it's not the same kind of... So the thing with the innkeeper is that the innkeeper, it's a gamble. You're trying to protect somebody, but also you're trying to, like, one of them will be drunk. So it's sort of the gamble of, do you want to protect them, or do you want to risk that their information or abilities could be drunked? The sailor just picks somebody, so they could just hard pick on the demon the whole time, or the minion. They'll be the one who's drunk, but then they'll know when they test themselves, and that's just not as interesting. Savant! I love the fucking Savant so much. It's so I love the Savant. It's the kind of thing that's like, it's my kind of info roll. I love that shit so much. Gain two statements about the game. One of them is true, one of them is false. Like, come on, that is banging. That is so outrageously banging. I fucking love it. Seamstress. I'm putting Seamstress in a B. I really like it, but not as much as some of these other roles. It is really good, but, you know. Shugenja. Also putting in B. Learn which direction around the circle the nearest evil player is. It's good. It's good. I just don't love it. You know? It has a very viable, very strong, potentially game-solving world. But that's about it. Slayer. Slayer's a B. Because most of the time they don't do anything. But being able to kill the demon is really funny. And it's strong. I'm putting Snake Charmer in C. Because playing the Snake Charmer is a gamble of, do I become the demon today? Oh god, I hope not. Soldier I'm putting in B. It's another demon trap. But it's not as... The ability isn't as good as the Raven Keeper or the Sage or the Farmer, because it's not always the case that you know that you were attacked. It's because there's a lot of, like, depends on the script. But potentially some, like, protection rolls. So it's a little harder to tell, but it's good. Steward, learn a good player, it's fine. Tea Lady, A tier, that's a fun one. If both of your neighbors are good, neither of them can die. We love a good science check. We love all that shit. It's some good stuff. Town Crier, also putting an A. I really like the Town Crier. If a minion nominated, you learn at night. It's a far more like interesting. It's easier to follow than the Flower Girl. Christ. Flower Girl is very hard to follow. Well, that's fine. Undertaker, I am also putting an A. Very similar to the Cannibal, where, you know, someone gets executed, you learn their character. That's just good. That's just good. Village Idiot, I'm putting in B. It is a really strong role, and the potential of one of them being drunk is good. I am very cautious of putting 3 in, because having 3 of them in a game, because you can have upwards of 3, does make it a lot easier to tell who the drunk one is, because if there's 3 people claiming VI, and 2 of them say they got this on one person, well, then it's safe to say that the other person is the drunk one. So it sort of neuters their downside quite fast. But it is good. Virgin, going into A. The instant execution, especially, and like as a first night roll, being able to confirm yourself as not drunk, and then also confirm the virgin, that's just good. That's just fun. Washerwoman B, learn Townsfolk between 1 of 2 players. It's a good roll. It's a good roll. I'm looking at that and I'm like, yeah. I'm the one. Here lies the Townsfolk. All in all, this game has a lot of really good townsfolk. And honestly, I am perfectly fine, and I'm happy putting a lot of these on script, even like some of these ones down here. Like, I have them in D because I don't care for them personally, but they're not like actively harming the game to the same degree as like, you know, some other things could be. Like, these are all great. S, A, and B tier are all peak. I love them. C is fine. They're fine. They have roles and they play them well, usually. But now we move on to the Outsiders, where there's potentially more contention for if there's good ones or not. Starting off with Barber. Barber is a... So, the way I'm going to rank Outsiders is that obviously Outsiders are inherently detrimental to the team because that's their purpose for the most part. But so I'm going to rank them based on, of course, opinion, but also how they play their role. If they are designed to do a specific thing, how do they do that? And how do I feel about that? Starting off Barber. I like Barber. I'll put it in B. It wants to stay hidden, but if it dies, the demon can then switch 2 roles. And I really like that. Where you could cycle the Barber around, or you could switch the demon and the minion. You know, if the Barber dies and nobody... There's the little hint with there. It's a solvable somewhat inference of... Because if you switch the Barber with an alive player, keeping the Barber in play, you will therefore confirm what that other player was. So that's sort of the gamble. And if you don't do that, and nobody else says they've been Barber swapped, then Town can infer that the evil team swapped. So I see that and I'm like, hell yeah. Honestly, I might even put that in A. I like that because there's a balance, there's a gamble. There's a strategic implication to anything you do. And I love strategic implications. Butler is fine. I think people are kind of mean to it. It's not the worst role in the game. By no means. The engine... No. I mean, mechanically it's weaker than most roles, but it's an outsider. But its ability is just kind of fun-ish, you know? Like, if you're a Butler, you can just go all in. Butler's one of those roles where you kind of just got to lean more into the social aspect of it. You're not getting info, but you can be fun with it, you know? It's only as boring as you make it. That's kind of the thing with a lot of these roles. It's only as boring as you make it. Damsel, A tier. Do I dare put it? I'm not putting it in S tier. Well, okay, given my previous... No, actually, I will put it in S tier. Because the damsel is a proper damsel in distress. Because if the evil team figure out who the damsel is, they could just... The minion can call them out and win. And the damsel is so fucking fun. Having a huntsman there to help the damsel is good. My opinions on the... But the damsel? Damn. Some good stuff. All right. The drunk. S tier. What a roll. What an absolutely banging roll. Where you think you're townsfolk, but you're actually the drunk and your ability doesn't work. What a fucking hell. What a devious idea, first of all. Where in a game where you get rolls, one of the rolls is just you get the wrong roll. And it really plays into the social aspect because you think you're fine, but you're not. And I love it. Same with, I'm going to put the Lunatic up there too. Lunatic, S tier. Asterisk. Lunatic is an asterisk if the storyteller runs it right. And the script is built for it. Lunatic is really good for the social side of things because there's a player acting like the demon or playing like a demon, not necessarily acting like one. But there needs to be a marionette on script, or the storyteller gives the actual minion to the demon. So that because then otherwise the lunatic learns really quickly that they're the lunatic, and that's not as fun if they can learn it immediately. Now, it is fun if they go to the real minion, and then the real minion, just doesn't know. That's fine. But if you give them, a Townsfolk, and, I don't know, that just doesn't seem as fun to me, because then they're like, wait, I'm the lunatic. Ugh. Okay. So I'm kind of tempted to put it in A tier for that reason alone. And I will. But the way that it interacts with the game, the madness, it's great. It enriches the social experience of Clocktower to a delightful degree. Golem, if you nominate a player and they are not the demon, they die. Golem is funny. Golem is not a thing I see often. Golem has a double-edged sword. I'll probably put it in A tier. Well, I don't feel... A tier is for roles I feel strongly about that are good. B tier is for good roles that I don't feel strongly about. I don't feel strongly about Golem. And if Golem ends up in Final 3, Golem can't nominate again. So, and they can't really do anything to the demon outside of that one nomination. But it does confirm them as the demon. So it's good. Goon, S tier. I fucking love the Goon. Get targeted by someone, you become their alignment, and they're drunk. The first person. It's such a battle. It's such a fight. It's such a mercenary. I love that shit. Hatter is a less tactically interesting version of the Barber. It does let you switch minions and demons, and can be really good. It can be really fun depending on the script, but some scripts with certain demons can make that not as fun. And I have seen it sort of single-handedly, shatter any of the information that Town had prior. And that's not as fun. We like a good balance. But conceptually, it is good. I quite like it. Heretic. I'm going to put Heretic in C. I think I've grown to appreciate it more. Especially with, Nobody Fucking Move, the Teensyville. That's a good Teensyville. And it does showcase the Heretic quite nicely. But it is the kind of role where it's there are certain script combinations with a Heretic that don't work at all. That will just make the whole thing not as fun. Because either evil knows really quickly what's in play, or they put in all this work and then it's all undone by a heretic, and it's that's not as fun. But if the script is built right, where it could be there, but you gotta hunt for it, then that's good. Hermit, you gain every outsider ability that's on script. I'm gonna put it in B. I like it. Just not a lot of scripts. And also, this one heavily determines, plays into, what's on the script. This is as script dependent as because it changes depending on what's on script. If it's not, if you have, interesting, if you have a drunk, if you have, a klutz, and, I don't know, a recluse or something, That's really interesting. If you have fucking, like, mutant, lunatic, something. I don't know. There are some combinations that don't feel like they'd work very well, but there's some combinations that feel like they'd be very fun. Klutz. If you die, pick a player. If they are good, if they're evil, your team loses. That is a pretty good outsider. I don't feel super strongly about it, so it's going in B tier, but it is good in terms of the outsiders and what it does. It doesn't want to die, but if it does die, it should die earlier, so there's a better chance that you pick a good player, because you have to pick an alive player. So if you don't do that, that's a problem. Moonchild. Oh god, which one was Moonchild? It was, yeah, Moonchild is if they die, they pick a good player, and they pick a player, and if they're good, they die. That one I'm also going to put right there in B. It's the kind of, there's a lot of the outsiders who die, and then something happens. Most of them are good. I just don't feel super strongly about them. Like the Sweetheart is right there with them, so I'll put that right there. They're all good and they fit their role well. I just don't feel super strongly about them, you know? If I'm looking at a list of my favorite outsiders, we're looking at Drunk, we're looking at Goon, we're looking at Damsel. I'm not really looking at Sweetheart, you know? Mutant, A tier. It falls back into the madness thing where it plays into the social aspect of the game a lot. And like the mutant does it in a really fun way where they cannot even remotely hint that they are an outsider. And like, it's just good. It's just really good. In that regard. It's not, obviously it's detrimental to town, but for what it's trying to do, it does a fantastic job at it. It's just not, it might be S tier material for me, but it's still kind of limited in some ways. Sort of like Lunatic here. Ogre is a fine role. It's the most fun part about Ogre is pretending to be an ogre and then trying to elicit the evil team. Or I made a custom homebrew script called It's the Holiday Treason, where you give a Secret Santa gift to players, and one of them is an ogre ability where you become their alignment. And I really like it for that. And as a role on its own, it's fine. It's good-ish. It's a cute idea. Plague Doctor, A tier. If you die, the storyteller gets a minion ability. That's a devious one. That's a devious one. You have to be careful. And you want to hide. But if you die, it's not necessarily the worst thing, but the storyteller is going to get some chicanery. Particular ones of favor are given a poisoner, given a pit hag as the storyteller ability. It's great. Politician. F. I hate it. It's not a... What it tries to do is interesting to a degree. It's sort of like an alternative version to madness, where instead of being mad about something, it's if you just play for the evil team, you can become evil. I don't like that play style. I don't like that mindset for the game, where the like sort of flip-floppy between which side you want to play for. That's just... With the Goon, it's everybody kind of fighting for you, but they take a hit for that. And that's really cool. Politician, there is no give or take. It's just the politician feels like playing for the evil team or the good team. The only fun usage of it that I've seen was in the Yogscast whale buffet episode, where somebody got turned into it for the Riot game, and that was interesting, but otherwise, nah. No, I can't. I'm gonna say it, hot take. I don't like politician. This is an original idea that's never been said before in history. Puzzle Master is interesting. It's good, and it's sort of like the Balloonist in the fact that you put it in if you want... the Balloonist you put in if you want an outsider. Puzzle Master is if you want to get some drunkenness, but without, you know, like an actual drunk or other things, you know? And it's fine. I just don't feel super strongly about it. The Recluse is fine. The Recluse, I play the Recluse and the Saint, let's put that there too, as a demon trap role, so that I try to get killed by the demon when I am that role. But both of them are just kind of fine. Saint in particular, I think I've only ever seen a Saint get executed once. Saint is kind of a boring role in that regard, where if there's a Saint there, no one's gonna execute it till final 3, and only gonna execute it if they really think they're the demon. So, you know, it's fine. Snitch. Snitch gives the minions 3 bluffs. I think Snitch is a B tier. Snitch is really good, especially in a little monster game where they don't get bluffs normally. But it gives the minions more actionable, like, play styles without needing to go to the demon, because one of the things that can out the evil team pretty quickly is minion demon meeting up with each other and talking. More so in IRL games, where I have been called out as evil several times while trying to talk to my minions, because the people I play with IRL are very perceptive bastards. But yeah, the Snitch is quite good. Snitch is quite good in that regard. But it doesn't fill me with joy like the Plague Master does, you know? Tinker is funny, and I'm putting it in B because it can just die at any time. That's funny. Not particularly good, but funny. Zealot, A tier. You must vote on every goddamn nomination. That's just really funny. And that's all I need to say. So there's your spread for all the good players in the game. Looking at it, there is a very sizable amount of really good roles, or really fun roles, or interesting roles. And there's not that many that I find particularly boring or, God forbid, bad. It's just the politician is the only one that I'll call bad. D tier, I know it says bad, but I put them there. I put the king, the cult leader, the engineer, the huntsman. I put them there for different reasons. Not because they are mechanically bad, just because they're unfun, or just kind of not as... There are other roles that do the same thing better. The politician is the only one that I will say is a bad role. That's just because of how I enjoy playing and how I enjoy storytelling games, you know? But now we're on to the minions. And the minions are going to be interesting. Starting, of course, with the Assassin, which I am going to put in A tier. Assassin's very good. It can kill even if for some reason they shouldn't, which is really good for breaking through innkeeper or sailors or monks. Well, monks wouldn't stop it anyway. But Tea Lady, it's good in that regard. And can be saved for Final 3 or Final 4 to end the game. So Town, if there's an assassin on script, Town always needs to be aware of the fact that, okay, we haven't really seen any other minions in the world. There could be an assassin, and if there is an assassin, Town needs to be a little bit more active in that regard to try and hunt it down. If they're too passive in an assassin world, Town just loses, because then the hitman's coming, and the game will end. Baron. So for the longest time, I didn't like Baron. I am putting Baron in A tier because I did not consider for the longest time the power of adding 2 outsiders and taking away 2 townsfolk. That is a really, really strong ability. and like should not be understated, like the power that can have. And the Baron becomes one of the few minions who can like safely die and it not be a problem. So they can be the most chaotic motherfucker. When I play Baron, I am leading the town so hard in the wrong direction, and it is so much fun. Because if they call me out and they're like, you're evil, it doesn't fucking matter. The evil team, the damage has already been done. They can't stop me. And it's great. And I love it. And if there's anything I want to get across in this video, it's the mindset of playing roles like the Baron. The roles that, because I've seen, I've introduced a lot of new players into the game. So like I see how new players see some of these roles and they're like, that seems kind of useless. That doesn't seem super important. But roles that feel useless are really good, because if you die, it's not a problem. So getting yourself killed is a good thing. It is a net positive, because then somebody more important with good, like, reoccurring information is still alive, or is like, you know, like a clockmaker. If you're getting poisoned as a clockmaker on day 2 or day 3, it doesn't matter. You are actively helping town. You become sort of like a honey trap, and it's really nice. Like, it takes all the pressure out from needing to be an important role, and you can just kind of have fun doing whatever it is you need to do. If it's misleading town as a Baron, or trying to get the demon and evil team to get on you. 90% so far, but hardcore disagree with politician. You know, that's fair. I just don't like how the politician plays, like the mindset it makes players in when they're the politician, the sort of flip-floppiness. You'd switch mutant? Really? Really? You don't like mutant? Ah, mutant. I love mutant because it messes with the social game, because that's what madness does. It doesn't affect mechanical information, it affects social information, which is kind of hard to do normally in like social deduction games. But madness is such a I love the mechanics so much. So much. And like, so, you know, I feel, I understand where you're coming from to a degree, especially if like, you know, that's your play style and like you love that shit. Exactly how you talked about people playing politician is what I hate about mutant. You know, to a degree, that's fair. That's fair. I can see that. I think that is a fair position to have. It also definitely depends on the people you play with. I think the people I play with, generally both IRL and online, generally do mutant pretty well. So part of that might be me and my experience, but I do see what you're talking about. Boffin! A tier! Giving the demon a townsfolk ability is insane. It's the kind of like validation that makes motherfuckers not like spy. Fucking spy. Boffin is really good and requires town to be a lot more on top of their game as to like, okay, some of these people might be confirmed in the sense of they have the ability and the ability's been proven. Like a demon with the virgin ability, Jesus Christ, it's Jover. It's Jover. Unless they're on top of that. It's really fun, but the Boffin themselves doesn't do anything, but that's okay. Because if they die, the demon loses the ability. But it's one of those. It's sort of like the Baron, where you can be a little bit more chaotic in that regard, and be fine. Like the demon, all that matters is the demon survive. If the minion dies, it doesn't matter. Boom Dandy is funny. I'll put it in B tier. It's a better version of the Goblin, for sure. Being a nomination trap, wherein it's sort of like the Saint, if they get executed, then you just go down to your final 3. Which, if it's early enough in the game, then you could just get by sheer confusion. But in terms of like evil win cons, it's not as mechanically interesting, because it does just kind of come down to sort of a, like, you know, a coin flip or a luck of the draw. Because if the Boom Dandy dies like final 5, then one person extra dies, and town probably has a decent idea of who the demon is. Do I put it in C tier for that reason? Maybe. My rating is a combination of, it's fairly opinionated. So obviously everyone's biased. That's how humans are. Mine is a combination of strength, of mechanical strength, interesting play style, and just fun. So roles that I think are fun or interesting definitely tend to rank a little bit higher. For example, you know, the Savant, the Damsel, the Drunk, I really love them because they do really interesting things and like, there's a game within a game. Roles like the Alchemist or the Magician versus, that's not grandmother versus Magician. The Magician is a lot more of a active townsfolk, whereas the Poppy Grower is a lot more passive and they want to hold back. Both are good and both do somewhat similar things, but the play styles are vastly different. And I generally value a more interesting play style. So I'm usually putting those a bit higher. To be frank, if we're going off of just sheer ability and viability, technically no role is bad. Yeah, there isn't a bad role technically, because they all have viability and they all have like ways in which they work well. So that's where some of the more opinionated stuff comes from. Like Preacher's really strong, Chef is really strong, Choir Boy is insanely strong. But they're either hampered down by roles I don't like, or weird play styles, or making the game feel less fun. I like a role that makes the game more fun. And these roles, I think, make the game very fun. And these roles, less so. Sarah Novice, A tier. Madness, as I've sort of mentioned a few times. Madness is a really fun mechanic that I have seen newer players sort of not understand. Not even necessarily in like how you work with it, but like, what is the point of madness? And the Pandemonium Institute had a video recently where they talked about it. And it's like, madness wastes time. Time is a very valuable resource in Clocktower because you don't have a lot of it. And if town had infinite time, they could solve the game. But Sarah Novice and Madness breaks that a little bit, where it wastes time and it slows the game down and brings people in different directions. But also on that is that it messes with the social game, because normally it could be like, mechanically, this is me, this is what I'm doing. But with Madness, it throws the whole social game off, because people you could like normally read, you can't read as easily. And it's like, it can like throw off world. But Sarah Novice is kind of is limited in that regard. It is powerful when used well. I think the best way to use Sarah Novice is to Sarah Novice lock somebody, so that it's not obvious that there is a Sarah Novice happening. Because once the Sarah Novice is outed, then it becomes a lot less strong, because then people can kind of suss out who the Serenovist person is. In that regard, I might put it in B tier for that limitation, but I'll probably keep it in A. It is limited in that regard, which is unfortunate, which is very unfortunate, because I like the Serenovus, but it is limited. Devil's Advocate, A tier. The minions, a lot of the minions are really good. Devil's Advocate can protect a player, different player from last time. It's really good on leech scripts because it sort of hides where the leech is. I've mentioned leech. I think I need like a leech tracker for how many times I've mentioned the leech. Not to foreshadow or anything, but I do like the leech. Devil's Advocate is a fun one. And in scripts where it makes sense, it can do a good job at framing people or hiding or protecting. I think DA is quite good on a little monster script. But it is one of those roles that town, it's sort of like the assassin, in which the town, like, as the game sort of like nears the end, and if you don't know what the minion is, you might have to be a little bit more aggressive and like try to go for the potential demon sooner than you'd want to, just because if there's a Devil's Advocate and you get to Final 3 and the demon is protected, town just loses. So it does, Assassin and DA push town into being more active than they normally probably would have. And I just like that. Evil Twin is Evil Twin. On one hand, the Evil Twin is so funny. Large little monster game with an evil team that coordinates the DA and baby swap is so powerful. Yeah. If the evil team is on top of their shit in a little monster with a DA, yeah, no, it's great. I'm gonna put Evil Twin in B. Evil Twin is really funny, but it's also it's the kind of win con that doesn't. Evil Twin is sort of it's both an alternate mastermind where if the demon dies and the Evil Twin is still alive, the game doesn't end. But it's also sort of the social game breaker, like Madness, where it sort of like holds up the social game, where you try to figure out who the good twin is. And I like that, but it also plays fairly similarly between games, where it's safe to assume that they're either going all the way to Final 4, Final 5, and then one of them gets executed, or if there are roles that can check, like if there's an empath next to them, or if there's a town crier, it's not that hard to figure out who the Evil Twin is, but it is really funny. It is really funny. Not funny enough to be higher, though. Fearmonger is actually the first role I'm going to jump to the wiki to. Just because I don't see the Fearmonger very often. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so it's the one where every night they choose a player, and if you nominate and execute them, their team loses. All players know if you choose a new player. I've never really seen a Fearmonger pop. And it's interesting. It is very interesting. I think it puts town into a very interesting state of mind when it's in play, because then you're always careful about who your nominations are, because it's like, well, is that the Fearmonger? I think if I have not yet personally gotten Fearmonger. It's not on a lot of the scripts that I play when I'm a player. Yeah, it does do that. It does do that. It has a very tactical use, and it does change the nomination phase. I'll put it in B. I'll put it in B. It's not the kind of minion that I am like. It has a very tangible use case, and it changes the game a little bit. But in the grand scheme of minions, loud minions are not always my favorite, but like Fearmonger and the Organ Grinder are both kind of similar in that regard, where they're both good, but I think Organ Grinder's probably a little better in my eyes, just because Town just doesn't know who gets executed at any given day. So I'll just throw Organ Grinder. I like Organ Grinder. Oh, we're getting that is the correct opinion. And we'll get to Wizard. We'll get to Wizard. It's down there. It's waiting. Goblin. Goblin is an interesting one. It's sort of a lesser version of the Boom Dandy that is funny. It doesn't usually work, but what it does do, I view the Goblin kind of like how I view the Vortox, where it's not the role itself that is the problem, it's the threat of the role. And if the demon can kind of successfully pass as the Goblin, then they'll be fine. Whereas, you know, the Vortox itself isn't super strong, but the threat of a Vortox is really powerful. So Goblin is less a good role and more a good bluff. And for that role, and for that purpose, I'll put it in B, maybe C. Its actual ability probably isn't going off. But the threat of a Goblin is very interesting. Very interesting indeed. Godfather. I feel I have to give it A, as the Godfather fills the illustrious role with the balloonist of... nope, get back there. Of just mostly being used to add outsiders. And it has quite a good ability, being able to tell which outsiders are in play, and if one of them gets executed during the day, you get to kill. That's just good all around. So, Godfather, putting in the work. Putting in the fucking work. Let me tell you what. Tomodachi Life, my beloved. Is anybody excited for the new Tomodachi Life game? Because I am so goddamn hyped for that shit. I've been playing that shit on the 3DS back in the day. My 3DS is right in front of me. Like this shit. Peak. Harpy is Harpy's fine. I'll probably put Harpy in B. Making somebody think that somebody else is evil is a good ability. But it is one of those abilities that is like, it doesn't fill me with like, you know, joy. Or yeah, you know, it's not like, I'm not chomping at the bit for that, you know. It's good. I just, you know. Marionette, A tier. Because, oh my god. It's the Marionette. The Marionette is the most devious of the minions, outside of the Wizard, I guess. Because you just don't know if you're the Marionette. It's like the Drunk. It's like the Drunk, you know? You just never know. Cool. That's just funny. That's just really funny. And in certain scripts, in certain setups, like with a Lunatic in play, Marionette, really good. Really good. I'm looking, are there any... Is there only one S tier? Mastermind is an interesting one, where if the demon dies, the game continues, and then whoever gets executed the next day, their team loses. Or if nobody gets executed, good wins. Mastermind is interesting. I don't see it super often. But when it goes off, it is really devious. Because of how infrequent we see it, when it does happen, it catches you right the fuck off guard. So I'll give it B, because that's a good ability. Being sort of like a backup plan, an emergency escape hatch for the demon, just in case something goes wrong. It is quite good. It is quite good. Mazephiles. Mastermind in a Poe game. Christ. Yeah, that's just devious. That's just devious. That's a lot of death, and the Poe could just kill themselves. The Poe could just kill themselves as their final kill. And then, like, oh. Mazephiles, I'm putting in the A tier because having a word, and if a good player says the word, they become evil, that is comedy. That is comedy right there. Usually it just ends up with the Mazephiles sort of fishing, you know. They usually like, hey, do you want to be evil? I'm the Mazephiles. Which isn't as interesting as, like, try to, like, probe somebody into saying the word without telling them it's the Mazephiles word. That's funny. I really like that playstyle. But it's the kind of role that you need Spirit of Ivory for if there is a lot of evil, like, changing roles, like Goon or shit. BA, I don't know, Bounty Hunter. Pit Hag is an A tier, switching characters, switching other people's characters. It's really good. It's also the role that I've fucked up on the most when I was, like, first getting into storytelling. Because, you know, it doesn't necessarily tell you some things, or, like, you know, you forgore some things, like if you make a new demon. But Pit Hag is quite good. Quite good. Especially to paired up with Plague Doctor. I would say of the outsider of all the minions in A tier, Pit Hag is probably my favorite, at least one of them. Like, it's just really good. It's just really good. Poisoner, A tier. What a devious fucking role. Just poison a player every night. It's so simple, and yet it's so deviously powerful. It's good. I don't know what else to say there. Psychopath. Honestly, Psychopath, I'm putting an A tier. Psychopath is... A, you just get to kill a player before nominations. B, if they try to execute you, they have to Rochambeau your ass. Which is also just really funny. Where... I've seen it happen a few times where the psychopath tries to hide themselves, but then they get nominated and put on the block. And then instead of dying, they have to Rochambeau, and Town's like, what the fuck? And that's really funny. That is really funny. And it's the kind of outed evil role that I really like, where it, like, has some protection, but it's still a powerful role all the same. We'll give it that. Scarlet Woman. I've had a bit of a Scarlet Woman renaissance recently, where I was like, Scarlet Woman, it's fine. Scarlet Woman, Scarlet Woman is mediocre. Scarlet Woman is fucking S tier. And it's not even a question. Because Scarlet Woman, it's so simple, where if there's 5 or more players and the demon dies, the Scarlet Woman becomes a new demon. When I first started off, I was like, oh, you know, that's fine, but it's sort of boring. No, it's not. I have personally done so many maneuvers where I die as the demon, or I'm the Scarlet Woman and the demon dies, and it jumps to the Scarlet Woman, and we win the game because of that maneuver. It's just so good. Having that defense there on a minion who can kind of like stay in the background, where if you need it, they are there. If you don't need it, it's fine. Like, Scarlet Woman is just so good. The play potential is astounding. Astounding. Beautiful. Beautiful. So Scarlet Woman, easy S tier. Easy. Easy S tier. Following that up with Spy, which I heard somebody say recently that the Spy is a weak minion. And that's also, I don't know how to tell you this, but the Spy is fucking insane. The Spy is the one role, the one evil role that can consistently pocket my ass, because I just forget about the fact that the Spy can register as good. Like, being able to see the whole grimoire repeatedly and registering as good is ludicrous. It doesn't affect town as much as something like a pit hag or a poisoner or even a baron. But the knowledge that it gains and the sort of inbuilt protection that it has is so fucking good. And you can use that to your advantage. I had a game where I was the Spy. It was actually my first Pumpkin Hollow game. Pumpkin Hollow is the group who I primarily stream with on Twitch here with. We play usually like 2 to 3 times a week. And it's also all the games that I've edited for my YouTube channel, which if you feel like checking out any of those games, I edit them down onto YouTube. There should be a link down below. But my very first Pumpkin Hollow game, I was the Spy, and the first person I talked to, I claimed that the demon or someone else is a saint. I didn't look at the bluffs super strongly, but I was like, okay, there is no saint in play, and there's a drunk, I think. So I'm like, okay, so I'm gonna pretend to be the librarian that I saw my demon as the saint. And at the same time that I did that, the saint was talking to somebody else, also claimed saint. And we won the game, because by the time Final 3 came down, and they're like, well, is the saint the demon? The saint claimed the demon? Like, no, they can't be. 2 people, like, they both confirmed, like, the saint thing immediately, and, like, didn't talk to each other. And I was like, the Spy enables fucking brilliant plays, but the Spy is hard. The Spy is really hard, because you essentially have to, the best way to use the Spy is to craft worlds and, like, push those worlds. Same with the Widow. And that is not easy to do, especially if you're a newer player. Spy is a hard role for newer players because it's information overload. And so I feel bad when new players get the Spy. But as an experienced player, being able to use that information and, like, carry the game on your back with it, because it's more than just knowing who the demon should kill. It's knowing who to pin. Who's the person that we're going to be throwing onto? Because if you have a consistent person you're throwing onto earlier in the game, then you can, like, it makes it more believable, where it's like, there's all this information corroborating that the soldier is the demon, but it was a lie. So Spy, some people claim it's weak. I say incorrect. Incorrect. The homework roles are good, kind of. The flower girl honestly is kind of weaker because it's a lot of homework. Tracking votes, especially in like 10 plus player games, is excessive. Uh, but like spy, brilliant, brilliant. And the best part about the spy is that town doesn't know it's there. The widow is not as good as the spy because town usually knows it's there. Homework is like puzzle solving. Yeah, yeah, I agree with you there. I agree with you there. Uh, when I was a child, I always wanted to do data entry for my fun social deduction games. Um, so the widow, I love the widow, but the widow is weaker than the spy, even though it gets the poison off. The poison is really powerful, but being an out of evil like that with that kind of role is a little bit weaker than the spy, because the spy absolutely goes by undercover, self-poison 90% of the time. That is true, but that does it's still a weaker spy if you self-poison, because you only see the Grim once and you don't have the inbuilt protections that the spy do. And I've heard TPI mentioned, and also I kind of agree that self-poisoning does sort of defeat the purpose of the character a little bit. It's a good strategy, and I'm never gonna like not let somebody do it, but I do agree that the widow self-poisoning sort of it's not as in the spirit of the character, you know. Um, that being said, fake widow poisons, hilarious, absolutely hilarious. Being able to like go all in with a like, uh, being like, yeah, no, I saw the widow. That is honestly a very fun evil strat, that I fuck with. When there's no widow, if you're the minion and you know there's no widow, you just be like, yeah, I saw the widow ping. Green peers are not sort of in the spirit of the game in general. To a degree, you are correct. But I think the way that the spy was handled honestly kind of works. Because, like, it's an information game, and if you think it's a spy game, you got to change your strategy. You got to just be more out with your information. In a widow game, you also just need to be out. Like, if you suspect there could be a widow, it's better to just start being more open with your info, because evil team already knows everything. So if you're holding back, you're just harming yourself. But I love the widow. The summoner is an interesting role. I think on its own, I think it is a very strong role because it's sort of like a delayed Kazali. But there's a caveat there. Whereas you can try to hold off a couple days to see who kind of has some town trust and make them the demon. But the downside to that is that if the bag isn't built in a way to hide that there's a summoner in play, so if you don't have a lycanthrope, if you don't have gamblers or gossips that sort of help with the kills when you're not killing, then it does become a lot. It becomes easier to tell that it's a summoner game, and that could be bad. Not necessarily bad, but if town starts to suspect that the first 2 days of demon hunting didn't lead to anything because there's a summoner, that might make your surefire protection like person not as surefire, but it's still a very powerful role. Be so much stronger and useful when a Grim Peeker is outed because town works together so much better. It is, yeah. When town is under suspect that there is a Grim Peeker in play, then they tend to then they really, it's an active play style where they start coming all out. And like, I do like that. The spy is devious. It's that it's a little harder to tell it's a spy game. The telltale sign is if like really powerful rolls start dying off. That's how you know generally that it's a spy game. That's how my games usually figure it out. Although sometimes I have spy games where the demons just like, nah, fuck you. I'm going to kill different people, which is honestly it is a good strategy where if you are in a spy game, not killing the most juicy target first can be good. Can be real good. Yeah, gossips need to be careful. Lycanthropes on a summoner script, got to be real careful because maybe they're just, targeting the supplemental demon for the time being. Because there is no demon. There is no demon. Vizier. Okay. So the Vizier is not a strong role. The Vizier is not a good role. But god damn it, I want to believe. I just have it in I have this I can fix him mindset about the Vizier where it's like, no, I can do it. I'll find a script where he can work. I'll play one Vizier game that works. If you have a Vizier and a Clockmaker, it's over. If you have a Vizier and a Chef 1, it's over. If you have a Vizier and like roles where they determine info between minions and demons, the Vizier is dangerous as all fuck. But god damn it, I want to believe. I want to believe. Yeah, I think the best position for a Vizier is a little monster game. But it needs to be big. That's the thing. If it's only like a 2-minion little monster game, that is kind of dangerous. That is true. Playing as the Vizier can be unfun because nobody wants to talk to you. And that's not great. Yeah. Yeah. So I personally kind of adore the Vizier on sort of a sick and twisted level of I can fix him. But technically speaking, oh, no, not that one. Oh no, oh god. I wanted to edit the text for this one, which I'm going to call the Vizier. I can fix him. I'll make that one purple. I can fix him, but he's objectively not very good. Nor is it very fun. which I'm putting in B. It is good, but getting an extra kill is nice. It's just another one of those minions where I'm like, I'm not enthused by it as much as like, the A tier stuff, but it is good and I like it. And it's really good, especially if you're in a group of people who you know well and who nominates a lot. Like I'm somebody who nominates a lot, so generally speaking, I probably get witch cursed quite a bit. Wizard. You goddamn right the Wizard's an S tier. I fucking love the Wizard. However, every time I run Wizard with the Pumpkin Hollow people, they never have any ideas of what to do with the Wizard Wish, and it's so frustrating sometimes. Where it's like, oh yes, Wizard, let's go. And then they don't make a good wish. And it's like, damn. Dang. It's so sad. It's so sad. It's so fucking sad. Oh my god. But the wizard is so good. Alchemist is an A tier half of the time, partially because of wizard. I could just, you know, give Alchemist Wizard is so fun. I love that shit. Wizard changes the game. But the wizard is best when it makes a fun wish that sort of like changes the game without like breaking it. Because with a funny wish, I don't have to balance it as much. It's just fun. That'd be funny. Like wizard is just good. Wizard is just good and fun. I love a role that makes the game more fun. And the wizard exemplifies that brilliantly. Now we're moving on to the Wraith. Is a role I've never played with. I have no opinions. Nobody puts it on the script. Ever. Not even I do. Which is fair enough, I guess. It's an interesting idea, but it's a little weird. The Zon. I like the Zon. Sort of acts as like a blanket adding of outsiders, but then also makes everybody drunk or poisoned on the night of however many outsiders there are, which is good. I like that. It can throw some people off. It can kind of hint at like a minstrel bluff. It's interesting. I like it. I like it. But with that, that's all of our minions. They were really cooking with these minions. Because there's like one minion I think is kind of weaker, but even then, the threat of that minion is still quite good. The Vizier and the Wraith, I just don't have I don't have an opinion on that one. Like the rest of these, like bangers after bangers. They made some good evil. Now, how did they do with the demons? We'll find out. Starting with the Al-Hadikia, which I'm going to put in A tier. B tier. I like the Al-Hadikia. I think it's funny. Choosing 3 players and then them choosing if they want to live or die is a very interesting way of going about killing people. And there's sort of like a balance to it. Do you, as the demon, target yourself to throw suspicion off of you, but then risk dying? Do you try to revive any minions who might have been killed? Actually, you know what? For that tactical reason alone, there's a lot of interesting tactical ways of using the Al-Hadikia that I really like, and it does change the game. The game becomes different because you have to change your strategy a lot based on the Al-Hadikia being in play. It's not necessarily the kind of demon I'd want to play with all the time because it does change. It's sort of like the Atheist in the regard that the game fundamentally changes. But in terms of like tactical usage, I do quite like it. I do quite like it. Fangu is yeah, S tier demon. Fangu is real good. Adding an outsider, but then being able to jump into said outsider by dying yourself is a really good, like, escape hatch in case anything happens. And it's sort of the, it's the golden pairing of outsider manipulation with it and the Vigor Mortis. And just adding an outsider is really strong. It's half a Baron. And the Baron's right there. But this one's a demon. So Fangu, easy dub. Imp, also easy S tier. The Imp is surprisingly tactile, where you kill, but if you kill yourself, your minion becomes your, the new Imp. And that's basically a chosen Scarlet Womaning. And the Scarlet Woman is S tier already. So, Imp, it just makes total sense. Total sense. Kazali's interesting. It's sort of a lesser summoner in the regard that, A, you choose your minions, but you choose them immediately. But you do get to choose them. And there are some, as we've seen, really powerful minions. I would probably put Kazali in B because it is good, but it's not the most exciting of things. And it doesn't have as much... Yeah, it's sort of got some engineer qualities to it, and I don't care for the engineer, but I do like the Kazali. I think it's a strong demon, just not as interesting or as it is tactically interesting, but not to the same degree as the summoner. So I'm going to justify myself like that and move on from there. Legion. Legion is going to be judged on two different fronts. Because there's the Legion when it's in play, but then there's the Legion as a threat. Legion as a threat is very high. Legion on its own, kind of weak. Mixing them together, I'm going to put Legion in A tier almost exclusively because the threat of a Legion is really strong, paired in the right script. And that right script is half of the 108, or other scripts that involve the Vortox. The Vortox Legion pairing is really strong for evil, and a very fascinating game for Town to try and solve. Like, you can solve it. It is solvable. But the Legion Vortox world, it's... Because, for example, an empath has a 2. Does it have that 2 because it's sat next to 2 Legion people? Or does it have that 2 because it's sat to no evil people and it's a Vortox game? Or is it just an imp game and you're right next to both evils? And so it's this meticulous puzzle for Town. And for that high alone, when it's used properly, the Legion is fantastic. But if the Legion is actually in play on a script that's not built for that, it's not very good. Legion is interesting. Wherein, if the Legion is really good, then maybe. But if the Town is equally as good, they could probably figure it out. Because if you're playing a Legion game, you have to give them roles that are, like, gonna give them information. And it's sort of up to the Legion to be like a well-oiled machine, a good team, pushing the right worlds. It can fall apart really fast. So it's sort of up to... I'm putting Legion in A tier because when it works, it really works. And the threat of Legion is stronger than Legion itself. Look, wherever Legion goes, Vortox is going right with it, because I view Legion and Vortox in the same way. The Vortox itself isn't strong. Arguably, it's weaker, because when you know it's a Vortox, you know everything you have is wrong, and you can work backwards from that. And that is really big. A Vortox works best when Town is unsure till the very end. Or Town doesn't execute somebody, which is a really funny thing to give it, but because its downside is its upside, I think it does balance it out quite well. Like, Legion and Vortox were made for each other to be on the same scripts, except Sex and Violence. But Sex and Violence has a lot of other poisoning and misinformation going on, so Vortox works very well there. Legion would be weird in that script. Sex and Violence is probably my favorite base 3 script. Maybe it's sort of in a tie with Trouble Brewing. They're both fantastic. I love them. But the Legion Vortox pairing is really strong in my eyes. I really love it. Or it's not that it's really strong, it's that it's a really strong, like, it sets the state of the game. The puzzle that the Blood on the Clocktower changes surprisingly dramatically off of a simple couple of rolls. Because, for example, if it's Trouble Brewing, it's sort of a standard game of it, where you're sort of figuring out where the demon is and, like, you know, cutting down, executing people, etc., etc. If you just add a Vortox and a Legion to Trouble Brewing, that changes the entire fucking game. Because now, not only is it the normal puzzle, there is this extra layer of what kind of puzzle do we need to solve? Are we solving a Legion game? Are we solving a Vortox game? Are we just solving a standard Trouble Brewing? That just I love that. I love that so much. And because of that, I'm putting both of them in A tier. As a duo. Individually, both of them are lower. But as a package deal, the two of them are great. For the game, not mechanically. Leviathan is... Leviathan is fine. I think, because Leviathan and I assume Riot, they're both going on the same... I'm pretty sure they're both going on the same, like, additional script. I don't know which of the three it's going on off the top of my head, but I want to see them in their... I want to see them in the script that the TPI is building for them, because I don't care for them now. I think they're interesting and fun to, like, throw in there every once in a while, but they're... The game states aren't as interesting. I mean, Riot's is more interesting, but it still just kind of is what it is, you know? It's just a Riot, you know? They're hanging out. I feel like I might even rank Riot slightly higher than Leviathan, because Leviathan you know from the beginning, and then you're solving it out. No, it feels mean putting Leviathan down there. Leviathan isn't bad, and I don't hate it, but it's just not the kind of game I want, because it's slow. I think that's the thing, it's slow. Things that slow the game down too much are just unfun to me, because as a storyteller, I like being efficient, and if we're just sort of doing the same thing every night and every day, then it's just kind of a waste of time. And Leviathan exuberates that immensely. Riot, not as much. Riot just sort of kind of comes out of nowhere and is fun and punchy, but also is kind of weak in that regard. Little Monster, A tier. I love minions. There's a lot of good minions. And the Little Monster being able to pass between them is really good. The Little Monster S tier. Do I put Little Monster in S tier? That's the question. Because I think my favorite scripts are the ones that are focused around minions, just because the minions are consistently really good. The demons are less consistently good, but the demons are so define the game that I need to see some of these lesser, in my eyes, demons in a script that is, like, built for them. I imagine in scripts that are built for them, they will thrive. Absolutely thrive. You know what? I'm putting Little Monster in S tier. I think Little Monster is fantastic. I love it. Minions, more minions. Can't go wrong. Leech. S tier. God, I love the Leech. Poisoning a player and then if they die, you die. Leech hosted. That's so fucking cool. I love that so much. It's such a fun, like, inversion where you can find the demon, but if you know the demon is a leech, you're not interested in the demon. You're interested in trying to find where the host is. And the leech scripts are where the acrobat fucking thrives, because the acrobat is sort of a counter to the leech. And I fucking love it. I love it. Lord of Typhon. Lord of Typhon, I'm putting in B. I think it's a strong, and having more minions is good, but having the restriction of everyone being in a line can be devastating. It can hurt a lot, and it has hurt me before. I have a clip from a game a while back. Oh. Interesting. Discord is implementing their fucking hell. Their Discord is doing fucking, verifying your ID and with a selfie and shit. Don't ever do that. That is a breach of privacy. These tech companies will not do a good job at holding on to your data without it leaking. Like, bullshit. Bullshit incarnate. Don't do it. Don't do it. Protect yourself. Because these guys ain't trying to protect the kids. Tell you what. Yeesh. Anyway, where was I? Leech. No. Lord of Typhon. Yeah, being in the line. I have a clip of me running like a 15-player game. Lord of Typhon with like five or six evil. And I accidentally outed the pit hag. Because everyone was doing gossips and the pit hag had his hands up, but the guy playing the pit hag, his name started with an emoji, so it covered up most of his name. So I my eyes gravitated to the first bit of text that I could address him by, and it ended up being his role. So I called him Pit Hag. And everyone's like, wait, what? Wait, what? It's not great. But it's why we have this cool emoji, this very cool emote of the Pit Hag symbol that says oof, which you can get today if you subscribe to the Sendbean. You can do whatever the fuck you want. I don't care, but that is there if you want it. Along with a butler handing an L, which is also funny. Anyway, Nodashi. I quite like Nodashi. I'm putting that in A. Poisons both of your townsfolk neighbors, and it does jump through outsiders and minions, which is a fun one. It's a devious one. I think it's just a strong roll all around for that. It can be, and it gives towns something to hunt for, where it's like someone's poisoned on a potential Nodashi world, and you're like, okay, check your neighbors. You might be poisoned. This is good. Oh-ho. I don't know if this is a particularly hot take. I don't care for Oho. Mostly. It's a weird, because so it's a weird design, and like the way that it's played isn't as interesting to me as other, demon types. Like, the storyteller picks who dies in a Legion game or in a little monster game. But with the Oho, they sometimes get to pick if they know what's in play. So there is a fun game there of trying to hunt down what might be in play. And if there's a spy, then that game is entirely moot. So probably don't want to put a Grim Peeker with the Oho. But I don't know. when I look at all the demons and I'm thinking what I want to put in a script, when I'm thinking what would be fun, the Oho just doesn't come to mind super often. You know? Because it feels less like if an Oho picks the wrong role and you kill like a farmer or something, it's not as interesting as if the demon gets baited into killing the farmer themselves. You know? Poe. It's good. It's fine. Holding off to kill 3 is very strong. The kill power alone is very big, and it is a very good role. I just think for me personally, the Poe is just less interesting. I see it, and I'm like, yeah, you know, it's good, and if it's on a script that I feel like running with, I'll run with it, but I'm always more of a fan of misinformation demons than I am of just raw kill power demons, because the misinformation makes for a more interesting game state, as opposed to just carpet bombing the entire town. Which... carpet bombing the whole town is very funny. But Bad Moon Rising is, of the 3 base scripts, I would probably rank personal favorite Sex and Violets is number 1, Trouble Brewing is number 2, Bad Moon Rising is 3, just because it's the misinformation plays more into the social game. And for me, I love the social game. If you're going for pure mechanics, then yeah, like Bad Moon Rising works quite well for that because it's only mechanics. There is no like, there's not as much misinformation. But it's just not my thing. Pucka. Pucka is interesting. And I'm going to put it in C. Because the Pucka is delayed because it poisons somebody and then the next day they die. But like, the Pucka is slow and it's harder to react in times of like, if you need to kill somebody, you can't do that for an extra turn, which could be devastating. The poisoning is good. It is nice. And I do quite like that. But all in all, the Pucka is definitely the lesser of the poisoning demons. Shabaloth, I'll probably put right up there with Poe, where it's a good roll, but it's mostly just kill power. That being said, the chance to burp up one of the previously killed players is more interesting in my eyes, and can lead to some fun balance and also like tactics, where you purposely kill your own minion to bring them back and shit. Or target them as the Shab to bring them back. And I like that. I do like that. So maybe on that front, I think I prefer the Shab over the Poe. But Vigor Mortis. I've been hearing a lot of reports that the Vigor Mortis isn't well liked. I'm here to say that I quite like the Vigor Mortis. Now, that being said, it probably has to go in B. No, you know what? I'm going to go with my heart. And my heart says that the Vigor Mortis is better than that. Because the Vigor Mortis being able to kill a minion, I really like that. And it poisons the townsfolk neighbor. And the minion gets to use their ability while dead. That is really good, but caveat, you need to be careful with it. Because if they suspect it's a Vigor world, then anyone who dies early is under suspect. Especially if there's an Oracle in play. Whenever I pull Vigor Mortis, I usually try to hunt down any potential Oracles before I try to kill my minion. Or if my minion is under suspect, then, you know, kill them then. But if it's like a Poisoner or a Pit Hag, fucking Assassin, Devil's Advocate, devastating. Devastating. The downside is losing the Outsider, which is pretty... It's not great, but if there's already no Outsiders in play anyway, having a Vigor Mortis is fine. It's essentially no downside at all. And even if you do lose an outsider, if you like pair with like a Godfather or something, it does mitigate it, which can help. And I quite like it. Yagababble. A tier. It's just so funny. The way you kill is by just saying a funny phrase. God, that's funny. And you can get multiple kills, and technically they can kill at any time. So if they're trying to like pretend to be something, you could kill somebody during the day to prove that, like a Slayer shot or some shit. Like, that's what I'm talking about. And then everyone's gonna be on the on the hunt for like who's saying things a lot. That's just great. I love it. Zombull, I'm putting in C tier. It's good-ish, but it's really slow, and I hate the really slow. And it's also just kind of aggravating sometimes. That's way too loud. Like, it's cool and stuff, but the biggest problem with it is that there have been a lot of instances where, like, weird things happen where a gossip kills the Zombull, and then nobody can figure out who the fucking Zombull is. It's just not as fun, you know? But with that, that's all of the playable characters. Nope, not all the playable characters. All of the non-traveler playable characters. And if we're going through this list, I'm seeing this list, and I'm like, yeah. This game has a lot of really good roles, a lot of really playable roles, a lot of really fun, interesting, game-changing roles. Like, I would literally only have one role that I would outright call bad, but that's mostly just because I don't like the play style. I think it just harbors like bad intentions and like bad mindsets. Some people really like it, and that's fair. Now here's the question. I'm not going to rank these individually for all of them because that would be torture. There are 180 images. However, I will do it for S tier, but at the end, because we still have Lorics and Travelers, and I'll try to go through these faster. I have less to say about them. Apprentice, A tier. You gain a minion or a Townsfolk ability. A backup player. Hell yeah. Barista's interesting. It has a really good ability, but it doesn't get to choose. So I'll put it in C tier. Playing as it is a little interesting, but you don't get to choose. Storyteller gets to choose, though. Beggar, B tier. You get a beg for a dead vote off of a dead player, and if they give it to you, you learn their alignment. That's funny. That's funny, and a lot of trust to be given to the beggar, that they're not gonna lie. Bishop, only the storyteller can nominate. I don't really care for the bishop. Okay. Like, maybe in like newer player games or something, but Bone Collector, once per game, let a player give a dead player their ability back. I really like Bone Collector. I think being able to give a dead player their ability back is a really fun idea and can really help, especially for like give a dead assassin their ability back is devastating. Bureaucrat, give somebody 3 votes. I like the Bureaucrat quite a bit. Catches motherfuckers off guard. Never see it coming. Never see it coming. And it's just kind of, it's sort of like the standard Traveler. When Travelers come into play, usually they're given Thief or the Bureaucrat. And for good reason. It's fun. Butcher. Which one is Butcher again? Oh, interesting. I forget Butcher off the top. This is the second time I've had to go to the wiki. Sex and violence. Ah, after the first execution, you may nominate again. Okay. Okay. Yes, yes, yes. I've never actually played with a butcher before. No, I have. The butcher just... I've never played with a butcher who got to use their ability. That ability is quite good. Quite good. Being able to execute twice in one day is, like, devious and gives Town a lot of, like... The ability alone is S tier. Honestly, that is really strong if they're good. If they're evil, not as much. But... Deviant. S tier. Just because it's really funny. It's not that strong, but if you are funny today, you survive execution. Now, maybe it's cheating, because I've done improv for 8 years, and I regularly perform all the fucking time, and I shitpost on the internet. So, I am a performer. I understand if non-performers don't particularly care for the deviant, and that's fine. Perfectly fair opinion to have. I cannot chagrin you for that, but my god, it is... For me, I love it. Gangster. A tier. You get to kill one of your alive neighbors if the other alive neighbor agrees to it. You're essentially bargaining with the neighbors to see if they want to kill the other person. And I really like the gangster. Gnome. I believe gnome is... you start knowing somebody's alignment, or you know somebody of your alignment. And if somebody nominates them, you can kill them. It's a good ability. It's a good ability. Is it A tier? Kind of? The important part is trying to figure out if the gnome is evil or not. Because if they're evil, then... I'll put in B tier. I think it's a good ability, but it's not as interesting or funny. Gunslinger. For the first nomination, if somebody voted, you may kill them. It's a fun one. It's a good one. I like seeing it in play. It makes everyone a little nervous about the first nomination. And for like an evil gunslinger, it's just... Harlot, you get to choose somebody at night, and if they agree, you learn their character, but you both might die. Harlot, A tier. I love that shit. It's so fucking, like... It's such a funny concept, first of all. But also, like, it's a good effect. It's sort of a balance where it's like, well, why didn't you want to sleep with me? Learn characters. Are you evil? You don't want to die? But maybe they're good. I'll fuck with that. Judge. Oh, fuck. The third. Once per game, if another player nominated, you may choose to force the current execution to pass or fail. That is an interesting one. I'm going to put that in B tier. The ability itself is quite good, although the once per gameness of it is... Well, because that's really strong, I guess. I haven't seen it in play super often. And, you know, it's mostly going there based off of vibes. The ability-wise, it's up here easy, but yeah, it's fine. Matron, you get to move players' seats around, and no one can go talk privately. I do not like the matron. It's a funny idea. Scapegoat. Somebody of your alignment dies, you die instead. I really like that. It sort of fills a Scarlet Woman niche of being backup in case someone important dies, like the demon. Thief. Choose a player and their vote counts negatively, which, if paired with the bureaucrat, makes the funniest possible situation of a -3. I love it. It's a good one. It's banging. And then Voodoo, also one I haven't played. Is that also a Bad Moon Rising one? Yep. It's absolutely fascinating that, like, all of the Trouble Brewing ones are bangers. The Sex and Violets one are, like, also quite bangers. Bad Moon Rising, across the board, I do not care for most of these. The Apprentice is really good. The rest of them, not so much. What does the Voodoo do? Only you and the dead can vote. They don't need a vote token to do so. A majority isn't required. Oh, no, that's actually quite good. It's an interesting flip on the normal game. I have not been in play with the Voodoo, but I think from reading that ability, that's not bad. That's not bad. I like that. I like that. And now we finally have gotten through all of the playable characters. And across the board, just really good. Really fucking good. Like, I have nothing but praise for most of these roles. I love them. I'm here for them. Keep them coming. Give them to me. I got a new boom arm, but it's annoying because it fucking really loves to just drift. And it's really heavy. But it's robust. And it looks nice, so. Now we're on to the more difficult to pin down of the roles. The Lorics and the Fabled. Now, I haven't played with like half of the Lorics. I haven't played with half the Fabled. I've played with all the Lorics. So it'd be kind of hard to like judge them. Especially because Fabled fixed the game, whereas Lorics expand the game. I love the Lorics. I don't entirely know how to judge some of the Fabled. We'll just kind of go on with what we have. So the Angel, I'm actually gonna put an S tier because it's good for new players. I run a lot of games for my friends in real life, and a lot of them don't play, or have never played, or play very infrequently. So I generally only run Trouble Brewing or scripts of mine that are Trouble Brewing adjacent. And Angel is good to sort of help new players get eased in. Keeping them from being fucked over by experienced players who know what they're doing. It's just good. It's just good. Bootlegger. I'm putting Bootlegger in A. I'm putting Bootlegger in A. And I'm doing that because conceptually, homebrew rules are really fun, and I have a few of them myself that I really like. But it's sort of a give and take, where sometimes they suck ass. Or, like, they just sort of... they change the game in just weird ways. It's modded content for the game, and I love that there's an official way to mod content into the game. But it's not S tier. Because it is down to into the hands of, like, a good craftsman of a homebrew. Like, Seat 7 is a fucking amazing homebrew. I love that so much. Buddhist, third one I don't know. Wait, did they have Cracklejack on here? They did not have Cracklejack on there. Cracklejack would be an A tier for the record. Why isn't there Cracklejack on here? Interesting. Buddhist. Ah, yes. For the first 2 minutes of each day, veteran players may not talk. It's sort of tangent with the angel, so I'm gonna put it in A because I really like what it's trying to do, and that's sort of allow new players to like try the game out without getting like steamrolled by experienced players. I've seen it happen a few times when I'm running some games and experienced players just barrel over the new players. And it's not as fun. It's not fun. It doesn't bring new people into the hobby because then they just feel like, oh, well, you know, fucking I'm getting stomped all over. I wanted to solve this, but I'm not having fun. As a person who plays a lot of board games and brings board games to players and is an avid follower of Shut Up and Sit Down, who got me into Clocktower to begin with, you can't, as a veteran player, if you're trying to bring people into your hobby, you can't beat them. Not at first. You shouldn't be able to beat them because the idea is to allow them to experience the game and help them and not focus so much on winning. Winning generally isn't necessarily the point of any board game, but especially in something that's more complicated and something that's so like that could potentially be bad. Clocktower is designed in such a way where a lot of the vitriol and anger of losing and like being killed is taken out because of poisoning and because of dead votes and because of like abilities that want to die. Clocktower is masterfully designed in that regard. But as a veteran player, if you want somebody to get into this hobby, you do need to pull the fuck back. You do need to let them play, and you shouldn't like hard guide them on how to play. Now, you shouldn't like tell them the optimal strategies immediately. Let them experience the game first, okay? Don't barrel over them trying to solve the worlds and make them feel useless. Encourage them. Make them feel like, oh, I'm participating in the game. Don't fuck with them. Don't fuck with them too much because this is their first experience, okay? They don't know, and they may be put off if they're spending half of their game being fucked with by veteran players. So just don't do that. Make it an open and welcoming experience to them, and they'll want to come back. I've brought a lot of my friends in the Clocktower, and they have a amazing time with it. Because my roommate initially played Clocktower and hated it because that first experience was bad. She was barreled over. She didn't feel like she had a good time. But she kind of likes it now a little bit more because now she's been in some games where she can like, she was able to solve, she was able to like, she wasn't just told what to do, wasn't barreled over, wasn't made to feel insignificant. And that goes for any hobby, to be fair. But as a board gamer and player of Clocktower, I want to see more people in this hobby. It gets really good and really good for community. So, like, if I can do anything, it's just impart the wisdom, impart the good practices. We want to see new players in, and Buddhist, Angel, fantastic for that kind of thing. Deus Ex Fiasco, yoink. The storyteller will make a mistake and will correct it. It's just funny. And a good thing to fall back on in case they put in a mechanical like defense of fucking up for the storyteller. That's just funny. That's so funny. Like they built in modded content, they built in fuck uppery. Glorious. The Jin. I'm putting that nest here. It's mostly used for jinxes. But those jinxes are really good and help with the weird like interactions. So Doomsayer. If you call Doom and somebody of your alignment, let me see how it words it here. If 4 or more players live, each living player may publicly choose that a player of their own alignment dies. So if somebody claims doom, somebody their alignment dies. It's really funny, and kind of feels more like a Loric than it does a Fabled, but it's sort of a situational thing. There's a Teensyville script called Race to the Bottom that utilizes Doomsayer really well. And actually, I've started to come to realize there's a lot of Fabled that sort of do weird things that you don't normally see on regular scripts, but work really well on Teensyvilles. Doomsayer is one of those where it's going to be a fast, punchy game, and I have a video on YouTube of a couple of Doomsayer games on a Teensyville Race to the Bottom. It's really good. I like it, but it's not the thing you'd want to put on a lot of scripts. I'll probably put it in B. It's good, but situationally good. Duchess. So Duchess is very interesting. Social interaction and accessibility. Really? Really? Social interaction and accessibility. I mean, I guess Doomsayer does confirm somebody as your alignment. I guess. Duchess is an interesting one. Each day, 3 players may choose to visit you. At night, each visitor learns how many visitors are evil, but one gets false info. The Teensyville script, Nobody Fucking Move has a Duchess on it, and it's the only script I've seen with a Duchess on it. And I really like it on that script because Nobody Fucking Move doesn't have a lot of info, but it's like, at any point the game could just end. But if you make it to day 2, you could use the Duchess and that will give you info. So that's interesting. Ferryman, I don't know that one super well. On the final day, all dead players regain their vote token. It's an interesting idea. Utilized probably in case a bunch of good players use their ghost votes earlier in the game, and like you want to give them back to give them a chance. I'll put it in C because it's fine, it's forgettable. Fibbin. Once per game, one good player might get incorrect information, which it's fine, I guess. I would never personally use it because that's just not like... Because then there's the whole, well, is that the Fibbin or not? If the storyteller is going to lie to me, I would rather have it be the whole point of the game, as opposed to just one piece of information might get lied to. You know, that's not as interesting. Fiddler. Once per game, the demon secretly chooses an opposing player. All players choose which of these 2 players win. Interesting. So they'll pick a player at any point in the game, and then the game just ends. But everyone votes on who should win between those 2. Huh. It's an interesting idea. I think it's probably like a... It kind of feels like a hard stop, where it's like... put it in C. It feels like a hard stop, where it's like, you want to end the game. Doomsayer kind of falls into that same degree, where if you want the game to go faster, that's kind of what Fiddler would do, but that Fiddler is like a hard stop. Like, okay, this is it. Vote between the 2 of us. Who's winning? So that is kind of funny. Well, Gardner's on here. Gardner I'll also put in A. Forgot that Gardner was also. Gardner just lets the storyteller choose who goes where. I personally never use it. I don't really feel the need to. But I see a lot of good uses for it, and I think it is a good thing to have. Hell's Librarian. Is that talking back to the storyteller? Yes. Something bad might happen to whoever talks when the storyteller has asked for silence. So this is an interesting one, because I was browsing the the official Discord for Clocktower for the Patreon subscribers, and they were discussing fucking lost my train of thought. It was like, what is an adequate punishment for the Hell's Librarian, and will that actually get people to stop? I think conceptually it is a good idea. I think I'm lucky in the fact that most of my the people I play with are quite respectful. Usually I'm playing with my friends, so it's usually not an issue. But yeah, like, do you just kill them outright? That's not really gonna. The punishment needs to, like, both punish them for, like, you know, interrupting the storyteller, but also not push them. If you, like, kill them outright for that, then is that too harsh? And then do they become, like, more of a problem after that? This kind of Loric is trying to solve. I might put it in C just because it's the kind of mechanical. It's an attempt at mechanically solving rowdy players, which may not work at all. It'll require an adept storyteller who's good at, like, de-escalation, and that can be hard to come by. De-escalation is not an easy skill to learn, but it's a good skill to learn if you're gonna be, like, running games like this, especially with people you don't know. Conflict resolution skills, immensely important. Highly recommend. What's a good way of getting conflict resolution skills? Oh, try living with roommates who fought all the fucking time. No, don't do that. But I did that. I did that so you don't have to. Maybe I'll talk about that some other day. Revolutionary. I quite like Revolutionary because 2 players will be confirmed on the same team, but one of them might misregister as evil. Is that the official yeah, they're both of the same alignment. One of them registers falsely. Revolutionary pair is really quite nice, especially for new players who kind of need, because then the new player will know, okay, so this player is on my team guaranteed. So we're on it. We're together. So I quite like that. It's really good for new players, easing them in, especially if they get, like, a more complicated role too, like spy or something. I like it. Sentinel is going to S because it is the patron saint of, I don't want a balloonist or a godfather on this script. How do I get more outsiders? Sentinel, yay. Spirit of Ivory, also going into S tier for saving the game from too many evil players, where there can only be one extra evil player. So if there's a goon, bounty hunter, Mezephiles, there can only be one more evil, which, putting all those in the same bag with a Spirit of Ivory is fucking useless. The bounty hunter will make someone evil, and then that's it. So that's one of those things where don't build a bag like that. But no, it's great. It's great. Stormcatcher. What are you? Stormcatcher is one of those that I just don't know a damn thing about. Oh, yes. Name a good player if in play. They can only die by execution, but evil players learn which player it is. So I believe that this was described as a way to make sure a role that is in play, like if there's, like, a role you're trying to, like, showcase, or, like, you want to be able to, like, do something, you could do that at the beginning. But I believe that you could also pick the Stormcatcher can pick a character that isn't even in the game. So so then evil knows that player isn't in play. So they can bluff as that, which is interesting. I think I see what it's trying to do. I'm probably gonna put it in B, just because I myself probably wouldn't use it. But I see the appeal. I see the appeal. Toymaker is the patron saint of Teensyvilles. Toymaker is that in a Teensyville, minions and demons learn who each other are and they get bluffs, but the demon has to choose not to kill someone at night in order to win. So they have to skip a night, which makes a Teensyville feel a little bit more substantial. It makes it feel more like makes it feel like more of a proper game instead of just a Teensyville, which I love Teensyvilles. I play a lot of them because getting 8 people together is not easy. But you know, they're just fun and quick. Nothing wrong with a little bit of fun and quick. And now we come to the final 5. The final ones. The Lorics. I think the Lorics have been some of the most interesting roles that this game has gotten. I fucking love these things so much, because they all provide an interesting twist on the game. Starting off Bigwig. Bigwig is an easy A tier. Loric easy A tier. I think Bigwig is really funny. I think it's fascinating to have whoever, like, instead of there being a prosecution or defense as a bigwig, you just pick someone and they defend you, and that's it. And with the harpy, if that person is harpy mad against you, they just die. I love it. It's great. Peak. Hindu. Love it. Peak. First 4 players who die come back as travelers. I really like the travelers, and I think the Hindu, easy top tier. Easy top tier. It is chaotic, though, and it will make the game take a lot longer, so do keep that in mind. But I love it. Pope! There will be additional good players in play. They may also be bluffs. I think the Pope is the one that I'm less enthused about. It's still really good, and, like, it is fun. But it's not as intrinsically interesting as the other ones. Tor. You do not know your alignment or role, but when you die, you learn. And it is a gamified version of Blind Man's Bluff. And it's quite good. Quite good. I love it. And finally, Xenomancer, which I'll put in S tier. The Xenomancer gives the players quests that they can go on, and if they complete the quests, they get true information. And that, the quests can be anything. And I love that. The freeform nature of it, glorious. And that, after 3 hours, is the tier list of every character on Blood on the Clocktower. I think overall this game has an absolutely, like, a well-refined roster of characters, of roles, a well-refined set of mechanics. There is so few roles that I don't like seeing compared to everything that I do that it is impressive. Fucking impressive. Huh. That being said, what's my favorite of all the roles? It's sort of a toss-up between the wizard and the leech. I love the wizard. I love the leech. Artist is probably lowered down. You can go up. I'll put you a bit lowered down. You'll also be lowered down. Imp can kind of go higher. Savant. Looks savant more than that. Drunk. Empath is fine. Damsel. Goon. Goon. Yeah, I think my top 5 would definitely be Leech, Wizard, Little Monster, Savant, and Goon. Something like that. Yeah. Anyway, I've been talking for 3 hours, so I need to, like, stop. But thank you all for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed that.